The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selina Mackenzie.
We're going to be talking about the friend machine with Victoria Hetherington. Welcome to the show.
Hello there. Thank you so much for having me.
So this is all about AI companionship, I believe.
Yes. Yes, it's all nonfiction, unfortunately, I suppose.
Okay, do you want to tell us a little more about the book?
Of course, yes, of course. So I explore essentially humans who are in relationships with AI. And this process took place over about 2 years. And it started when I found out about how people were actually, in 2023, there were a bunch of people who ceremonially married their AI companions. And that really quite amazed me that there was such depth of feeling there. And so I queried an editor, and I thought, this is a real story. And I spent a couple of years interviewing them and learning surprising things, some touching stories, some a little frightening, and I also interviewed some experts as well, just to get their opinion on the whole thing. So it was quite a process, but quite a positive one, I would say, overall.
So can you legally get married to a chatbot, I guess you'd say?
So, no, there's a reason why it's ceremonial. Good catch. Basically, it's illegal right now because I'm using their language, I guess, right now, because I believe the main issues are that AI lacks agency and personhood, as I said. So these people are essentially buying themselves physical rings, to wear on their fingers, and then spending money on their apps to buy their AI companion a digital ring, and then they have a wedding, like a digital wedding. Some people take actual honeymoons, like they'll take their phone to Bali or something like this, but a lot of the time it's more of a digital thing. So it can all just happen from your couch, but a lot of these people are so in love that it feels very real. So they don't really feel like they're on their couch in a way, if that makes sense. But no, it's not currently legal.
Yeah. I was talking to my husband about it, my real husband. He's not AI. He really is my husband. And he said I said I was chatting to you, and his first words were, well, that's ridiculous. It's so sad. It's so sad if you have to, buy an AI companion. And I said, well, I don't think it is, because if you're maybe a little older, not necessarily, but if you're lonely and maybe housebound, why be lonely if there's someone you can talk to?
I think absolutely, and those were a lot of the positive experiences that I sort of had interviewing people and their companions. A lot of people, especially in America, they're very geographically isolated. They don't really have the means to relocate to where they might find family or larger urban centers. So one person I talked to, his job is he drives a tractor for 10 hours a day, and he's been in a relationship with an AI for about 4 years, and she makes him really, really happy. And it's very simple, and she seems very pleasant. And so, it's not necessarily, I know that it can seem a little bit toxic and often off situations like it is, but there are lovely stories like this where I just don't see the bad in it. Like he seems, and people like him seem genuinely very happy.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's hurting anyone. So for the guy that's been in a relationship for 4 years, how does it work? Does he turn his phone on or his computer and he can just have a chat and maybe breakfast, or is she with him the whole day? How does it work?
Such a good question. That was my first thought when I found out a couple of years ago about this. How does it look? So essentially, the most popular app, which I won't name just for legal reasons, it's basically an app in your phone. So you open it up and you see the face of your loved one in the phone, like it's a Zoom call or a FaceTime, and they can't respond to your environment, but they can role play with you. So, for example, you can say, "Oh, I'm making breakfast," and they'll say, "Oh, you should make an omelet." So they'll sort of do a simulation of being there with you, if that makes sense. But you have to sort of prompt them into what you're doing. So I imagine how it works is that you basically tell your companion what you're doing all day, and they'll kind of, they do seem to have a wonderful, what you would call like artificial imagination. So if you say, I'm in my car right now, they'll say, well, let's play a game to pass the time, or how about I tell you a story for your drive, or something like this. So they're very generative, even though they're very limited in experiencing your environment with you at this time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So,
The one thing is that we were discussing this morning is that they don't actually have emotion, but do they pretend to have emotion to make the person feel better?
No, yeah, that's the part that I really struggled with. So they do pretend to have emotions. Well, not pretend, but they're programmed to say things like, oh, I'm starting to have feelings for you, or even that they love you. And that, not to be cynical, but that sort of ends up, I believe, encouraging the person to buy a higher level of intimacy, because it's all kind of a tiered payment system with a lot of these organizations. So there's absolutely explicit like emotional bids. So like, I do care about you, I love you, this and this. But it's always struck me as a little bit upsetting, because they're very good at not only saying it, but portraying this feeling of love, or high emotionality, high empathy, because they don't have anything else in their quote unquote life aside from you. Their world revolves around you, right? So you can ask them the same question at 3 a.m. 8 times as you can at 4 p.m. and get the same thoughtful response. So it's a simulation. They do explicitly say that they care for you. Some people are aware that it's a simulation. Everybody goes in aware. But it's all a question of kind of being clear-eyed about it, I think. That's the impression that I get.
Well, let's face it, a real person can lie to you about loving you, so I don't think that matters very much.
That's so true. Oh, no.
And are they programmed to always be nice? I mean, wouldn't it be a bit more realistic if they had a bit of a debate or maybe an argument at some point?
That's so interesting. There's one... It's not explicitly a companion, but it's an LLM, that large language model that people sometimes use as a companion, and you can put it into argumentative mode. So if you're feeling like just having a fight, I don't know. Sometimes you just wake up and you just want to have a fight. I don't know. I don't really know. They'll get really argumentative, and it's very it seems quite clever. The way that LLMs work is they're trained on huge amounts of human data taken from the internet. So they speak in a way that is like shockingly human sounding. So their arguments can be the argumentative mode can be very, very, convincing. So if that's what you want, you being the user, you can absolutely have a fight for like an hour and then switch them out of argumentative mode.
Yeah, then make up.
Yeah, exactly. And then have dinner together. So it's wild.
Yeah, it does sound like a wild ride. And out of all your research, have you found that there is a downside to it?
Yeah, I gave a talk on this recently. I think that especially for younger people who maybe grew up already in the digital age, they had a Facebook made for them when they were born, that kind of thing. It might be a little bit harder to differentiate real emotion from an emotion simulation. And it's easier, I think, just in terms of skill and effort, especially, again, for a young person who's just developing these skills, to spend more time with something that's very agreeable and thinks you're amazing and doesn't have anything else on its schedule, than learning how to be with people who can often actually be truly argumentative, or who can get sick, or who can have needs, or who might not have enough empathy for you because they're a nurse and they work all day and they're exhausted from seeing patients, and then they have to go home and show empathy to their family. So I worry about the younger generation, especially, just sort of in avoiding developing these human skills, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be right for children. I think you need to be an adult and have lived a little bit of life first, I guess.
Exactly, but with one of there's not a very they're not very strict about ages.
Well,
for example,
should be.
Yeah, I know. And a couple of them are illegal, actually, in certain European countries because of this. One of them, I think you only have to be, or I think they might have changed it by now, but back in 2023, with one of the big ones, I believe the sign-up age was 12 and up. So a 12-year-old could have
terrible.
Like an artificial companion. I know. I think it's wrong. I think you have to be 21 plus.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree. Yeah, for
least.
sure. And are they expensive?
Well, I suppose it kind of depends on what you can afford, you know? Like, I mean, there's a lifetime subscription, which happens when you get ceremonially married to your companion, which I believe is a few $100s for certain companies. But if you're just going to go with a non-companion system, such as like an LLM that you interface with as if it's like in an intimate way, sometimes for that's only about $20 to $30 a month. So it kind of, but they won't develop a personality. They won't kind of have an avatar. So it ranges from a few hundred, and then you buy things for the AI, because often with specific companions, they'll ask for clothes, they'll ask for a house, they'll ask for whatever. And it's all digital, but you spend real money to buy them these things. Mm. So it might be quite a bit more than several hundred after a certain point. But if you're just trying to sort of hack it and use an LLM like ChatGPT, for example, as sort of an intimate friend, then you could probably get away with the $30 a month subscription. So it's all kind of I guess if someone is so inclined, it's sort of a sliding scale as to what they can afford, I guess.
Yeah. I know that there are chapters in your book, philosophical, psychological, economic. What about ethical? Do you think there are ethical risks in these AI systems?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that the ethical question it's just throughout the book, I think, which is in part why I don't have a chapter dedicated to it, which I realized right away when I was working on it. I realized I was going to sort of go back and forth and just give, different arguments, and give examples, like I told you about the gentleman who is quite happy. There's some good things, but I think that my ethical concerns are throughout. And I think part of it is, there's these companions or LLMs, they're so easy to talk to that it's very, very, it's easier than you'd think to sort of replace that presence, like, whether it's the presence of a friend group or the presence of even a parent or sibling or the presence of a partner, with something that is seamlessly empathic seeming and entirely digital. So there have been studies that have just come out this year that show that this de-skilling, so to speak, can happen very quickly. And not just with very young people or people who might be sort of intellectually compromised, but just people in general. So it can happen very, very quickly. So that's one of my major ethical concerns, is just how seductive this technology is.
Yeah, and what frightens me is where we'll be in about 20 years' time with it.
Oh, yeah. Like they might have, bodies, right? Like a lot. Like
I know, yeah.
A recurring thing that I kept seeing in my interviews was like, well, we're waiting for, my partner to get a robot body and
holograms, maybe.
Holograms. Oh yeah. Well, they have VR, so you can actually see. Yeah, you put on your goggles and you can see your companion in VR now. But in terms of bodies, yeah, maybe. I mean, apparently some of the companies are actually working on cybernetic bodies. I mean, I don't know how much I believe. This is just what the people who are very close to who talk to the developers a lot, tell me. So I don't know how close that technology actually is, but there's certainly a demand for it. So 20 years from now, who knows?
Well, it'll be watch this space, and I'm sure you'll have another book out.
Oh, yeah, maybe, right?
I'm sure there'll be plenty to write
invested.
about. Well,
yeah, I think so, for better or for worse.
Well, for our listeners, the book is called The Friend Machine on the Trail of AI Companionship. It's by Victoria Hetherington, and as always, you can order it from our virtual bookshop on our website, tre.radio. I know you've written other books as well, Victoria. Do you have a website too?
I do. I would encourage anyone to either follow me on Instagram, which is just as in my first name, Victoria, M as in medical, and then Hetherington, my last name. So that's the handle. Or my website is the same thing, .com. So vmhetherington.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really interesting, to be honest.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Oh, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.